game time. That's what they always say. It's game time.
Game time.
What's that saying that you just said the other day where it's like every man says this now? Let's go.
Oh, yeah.
Like every reality show, every contest.
Well, I'll admit, I was watching Love is Blind, which is my,
and these people
biggest
are going to
issue
propose.
is trash TV. And yeah, everyone who proposed in the pods after the girl said yes, they were like, let's go.
Yeah.
It was so weird. I was
Yeah.
like, is that how you celebrate an engagement with a random person you've never seen?
Well, I think a lot of people celebrate with let's go. Like, it's just like, let's go. Like, yeah.
Anyway.
There's certain things that people say over and over. You know what I realize that I say a lot? Do you know what I say a lot? Like when I agree with someone.
You say right.
No, I say something else.
You say okay.
I say 100%.
Oh, yeah.
100%.
Which actually, I picked up that bad habit, so now I say it.
Now you say 100%?
Yeah, it's all your fault.
Well, I'll take it. Well, hey, so welcome to this episode of Budget Banking. I'm Chris.
And I'm Becky, and we're so excited to talk to you today.
Yeah, we have, kind of like a lot of different weird topics that have kind of come up within the last week.
Starting with your new look.
Starting with my new look. And so I actually shaved my mustache.
He's gone Amish on me, and I'll
I've
be
gone
honest.
Mennonite. I've gone Amish.
I'm really just unsure of it.
Yeah. Well, the
He
thing
doesn't
is,
care about my opinion.
it leads into like lots of levels of stories. And so one is why do I have a beard to begin with? And the reason is because like I just got tired of shaving. I think a lot of people just it's expensive for one. Blades are extremely expensive. So I think I joined the Dollar Shave Club when it came out, and it was like, hey, now you're getting like really cheap blades, but it's not $1. The $1's for like a single blade, but if you want like a 5-pack blade, then it's like a couple more dollars, and they get you on the monthly. And then
Like every subscription.
Starts so like subscriptions start off small. And then you forget about them. And so, as an example, at some point I went from Dollar Shave Club to Harry's. And so Harry's has a blade, and I think I liked it more as aesthetically more pleasing. Ethan is like shaking his head over here. He's like, yeah, spot on. Love my Harry's. And one of the things that started happening is that every month I'm getting a 4-pack of blades, right? So 1 blade per week. Well, if you open our drawer, I think I have 12, 13 of these cases of 4 because I forgot. It's not that I forgot because every month it arrives, but I never canceled. And I switched to just growing a beard.
Leave it to you.
And then only shaving just kind of like the beard lines, in which you don't need a razor every week to do that. You just kind of reuse what you have.
I'm actually crazy with my subscriptions. Like that probably wouldn't have happened to me because when I subscribe to something, especially if it's like you get a free 30-day trial, normally I'd say no, I don't need that because I don't need to get charged. But if I really do want it, or if there's something special, I set a reminder. I look at it and it's like, you will be automatically charged on the 15th. And I'm like, okay, on the 13th, we're canceling this baby. And some of them, you can go in and you can cancel right away. And
That's your strategy. That's what I thought you were going to say.
This will cancel on, but other times it says this will cancel you altogether. You won't have access. But if it gives you access, you just say okay to it. And then you go right back into the thing. Make sure you cancel it instantaneously. And then they give you the 30 days anyway.
Yeah, that's the strategy that I think that I prefer, which is canceling it right away. I don't ever set reminders on my phone. So
I know you're not so bad at that. It's just not your technique.
My style. It's not my technique.
I live by calendars and reminders.
Yeah, you do. So going back to the mustache, I'm going to keep it because I'm going to keep shaving it for a little bit just to see how much I like it after like a month, because I have all these free blades. So I don't have to actually buy blades for probably a good year. So hopefully
it's
I don't know
free
if you can,
look.
It's a free look for a year. And
enjoy it, people. You heard it here. He's not changing
and
it.
we'll see what happens. If I start
But
buying it
you originally got rid of the mustache, just so everyone has a little context, because we were going scuba diving.
Correct. We were spending time with my sister, and she has been wanting to go diving for a while, and
it was
we had this weekend
and for her.
And yeah, she ended up having a little bit of a.
She did great.
She did great down there. She just had a shortened experience. That's all.
Well, first of all, it was 5-foot swells. It was absolutely insane.
Oh my gosh,
the boat
the water was
nuts.
insane.
Yeah, we were rocking up and down. But if you wear a mask underwater and you have a mustache or a beard, for anybody who dives or even snorkels, then you're aware that it allows water to come in.
Yeah.
And so if you don't want to have to worry about clearing your mask every 5 seconds, you shave.
Or you put like a Vaseline,
you can put Vaseline
or something like that to kind of create a bond or ceiling. But I decided to shave, and then I looked and I thought, man, I feel like I'm like at least like 5 years younger.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. There's still a lot of gray there.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm just saying I had nothing to do with the younger. I was just looking at your face and trying to determine. The minute he said he looked Amish, now I'm like, I just can't get past it. It really, truly is.
And every time you say that, I want to do like a yodel. But I know that like yodels aren't Amish.
Yes,
but it's
that's like majorly stereophile. This is not the Sound of Music.
I know. It's not the Sound of Music.
Doe. Oh, that's what I was singing to Stella the other day. Doe, a deer, a female deer. Anyway. You could have at least joined along with me.
I was very close. I started tapping my foot, and I was like, all right, where do I go in? But then I wasn't sure if I was going to come out with like the right level of anything.
Right. So, yeah. Well, Ray was next. So.
Yeah. Well, so we did go on this trip.
Yeah.
And, well, actually, before we jump, subscription packages, I see a lot of apps, a lot of advertising on these social media and stuff that says, hey, download this app and we'll automatically with one button cancel
tell you all your subscriptions that you have.
And cancel it.
Yeah.
And I'm actually kind of blown away. I'm like, do people really realize that they have these subscriptions and they need a button to cancel them? Like, who has 2 Netflix accounts and doesn't realize it?
Yeah, it's very possible.
Do people really have that and they have those problems?
I'm sure. I mean, in all of those ads, it's like people say, oh, I only have 1 or 2. I think it is good to do an audit. I'm not sure that you need to pay for an app, but when they do say, oh, I only have 1 or 2, they're like, actually, you have 8. And I think sometimes, too, it's like you're not recognizing what a subscription might be. It's like, well, and I don't know if this would pull up on the app, but in my mind, things that I'm paying for on a monthly basis that's continuous is what I would consider a subscription, including like pet insurance. It's like there's all kinds of things that you can make a decision to drop or not. So anyway.
That's true. I mean, there's a big difference between a subscription and a reoccurring bill.
Right. And so it depends on how they define it. It's like, is it only these TV subscribers, internet subscribers, apps on your phone? I think it's very possible that people could have like MyFitnessPal and not realize that it's been automatically renewing because they used it once and never turned their credit card off of it. But see, I feel like I audit my credit card itself so much that I would notice if a charge was showing up for something that I was unaware of. I'm fairly confident in the number of subscriptions I pay for.
And that goes out of your personal account because that's like a decision. So it doesn't even show up in our budget banking model. So
no, because I would absolutely use my personal.
Like my LinkedIn subscription for each month, that comes out of the company. And, I'm not necessarily tracking those.
Right.
But I get the reminder.
It is important in a business to keep track of all your vendors and all your subscriptions, renewals, because it can get overwhelming.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in our software company, I think we have around 17 or 18 software subscriptions for various things that we pay for.
And it's funny. I mean, even in the company that I'm working for, as we've experienced a downturn in the market, you realize to use what you really need, not the nice to haves. A lot of times there's subscriptions and tools that help you, be more effective or can be the nice to have, but you can also do without it. You have a project management software and you can manage projects in Word documents or spreadsheets. So,
it depends on the size.
It just depends.
How you want to do your business. I actually have a subscription to Miro and I absolutely love Miro. It's $10 a month, and this is not a sponsored ad by any means. I will tell you, it's one of those things that I only use a few times a month.
I don't even know what it is.
It's like a visual board
that
you can put notes, create flow charts.
Like a Trello.
No, like a Trello is more like project management. Okay. It has Trello aspects. No, it's not like that. I'm going to show it to you. It's exciting.
Okay.
I really like it.
Cool.
Anyways, so when we're talking about these subscriptions, it just reminded me the whole shaving incident of us just taking a look at that. We actually don't have any extra subscriptions that we are not using right now.
No, but I think it's a really good idea if you're ever trying to cut on costs, like go look into your subscriptions first, because there might be things you're paying for that you don't need, or even it might open up conversations that you weren't thinking about. You might be looking at, how can you pay less for groceries when maybe you are getting 3 different, TV accounts or ways to watch entertainment and you really only need one.
because we used to have a Disney Plus subscription. And then when we had our Hulu, Disney was rolled into Hulu. And so we ended up canceling it, but we didn't cancel in time and we prepaid for the year. But I canceled it anyway.
Just don't take it from us.
Yeah.
But the trip was great. We were talking about just in general how funny it is because we've got all kinds of stuff. But when we go to locations that are so close by, we
tend to... What's the right word? Not underpacked. We're underprepared.
We were underprepared.
We were underprepared for
just
this
like we were. I think
trip.
we've been doing a lot of traveling, which like you brought up a great point the other day. If you travel too often, too close together, it doesn't give you anything to look forward to.
You lose the specialness if you travel too much. And
we just had commitments, but it was funny. We went on this trip and he literally used a Whole Foods bag to pack his clothes, even though we own luggage.
We have amazing away luggage.
He was like, I'm ready. And I'm like, how are you possibly ready? You didn't even come upstairs and get a bag. And he's like, oh, I got my stuff in a Whole Foods bag.
Well, here's the deal. When you're going on that type of trip, I needed 2 bathing suits, a t-shirt, and a toothbrush. So
that's like how my cousin used to go up north. Literally, he'd show up in sweatpants and a t-shirt, and we'd be like, "Where's your shit?" And he'd pull his toothbrush out of his pocket.
This is all I need. My toothbrush.
What are you doing?
And even a toothbrush you can get for 99 cents at
True.
Walgreens.
You can. I have definitely gotten into that mentality. The older I've gotten, it's like if I forgot something, then
you can just pick it up.
Yeah, exactly.
But this trip, we actually forgot a few things, which is
we
our
didn't bring
second
our stereo,
trip.
Which was unfortunate.
No, I had the little stereo. We didn't bring the bigger stereo, but I had the little teeny one. Remember at the pool?
Oh, yeah.
We should talk about the dancing lady. But
oh, my gosh. Yeah, she was
We actually
crazy.
we went diving in the Keys to a place that was something that we'd done in our family before, and we wanted to kind of explore doing this again. And we had one morning of diving, but then we had 2 days of just kind of laying out, hanging with family, and we were all poolside. And we were at
going to restaurants.
Going out to eat. And so we got a benefit from the pool that we were at had a restaurant directly right next to it. And we, one of the things that we always talk about when we talk about food budgets is like how expensive. It's less expensive to go out to eat until you start getting alcohol. And then all of a sudden, a $40 bill turns into a $100 bill relatively quickly.
I wouldn't say less expensive. It depends on where you're going, but it could be just as equivalent to buying groceries. Like I feel like in the past, it used to be like, okay, if we're going to save, we're always going to cook at home. Whereas we've found that the groceries that we buy, and maybe our groceries are extra expensive, but the groceries that we buy versus the places we go out to eat are typically equivalent. But if we add cocktails, it's much more expensive. And so on this particular trip, we were looking forward to having some cocktails by the pool, but that also is a major expense. So when we were walking that morning, there was a liquor store, and we thought, well, why not?
So we just got some Patron, and basically...
And we put it in a Fiji water bottle and brought it down to the pool.
Which is really weird, because the pool, the only reason we did that was because they don't allow glass in the pool, and it came in a glass container. But you're allowed to bring a cooler to that pool, and people can bring drinks and everything else. It was just also served by a pool attendant. And so we ended up ordering tonics and
yeah, we just asked. So we constantly had fresh ice and fresh glasses, and we felt like we were having cocktails at the resort. We were just ordering the mixers, and it was super inexpensive.
And the mixers, actually, we didn't realize this at the end of the day. We thought, we'll pay for 3, 4, 5 mixers throughout the day. But it was free
refills.
It was free refills.
Because soft drinks are, and we never think about that because we're not the type of people that get like a pop at dinner. And yes, I'm a Midwesterner. I said pop.
So if you get a soda and it's refills, or like a tea and it's free refills, but there we got our bill and it was just
like $10, and we were like, oh my gosh. And bless her heart, this waitress ran back and forth for us. So we tipped her really, really well, because obviously we were just ordering soft drinks and we wanted to make her time worthwhile. But it is, it's always so hard to determine what you should tip people.
It is.
Tipping
is like one of the most bizarre things. I actually used to be I wouldn't say a horrible tipper. I would say that the concept of tipping to me is just so bizarre. It's like you go in, you order a $10 meal and you give 20%, that's $2. If you go in and order a $100 meal, it's one meal. It's still like 1-to-1. but now the tip is now $20. Like the percentage
sometimes
thing
the
always
person
kind of
does
blew me
like
off.
the same amount of work, whether you're getting a $100 Wagyu steak or a $2 burger. It's like that person, if you're talking about their time and their effort, they walked to the kitchen, they grabbed a plate and they brought it to you, you know. But in Europe, it's so different. In a lot of other countries, to be honest, where tip is not a regular thing. It's almost it's not expected, that's for sure. People are paid their worth for the service that they're providing, and tip is not part of that compensation. Whereas here, you're actually allowed to pay under minimum wage because you're expected to make tips on the orders. But I think sometimes that's so
service wage or something like that.
Yeah, it's so crazy because, you know, people can offer really bad service too. And then it's like, well, are you still expected to tip on this? You know, sometimes in Europe, if you have a $1,000 meal, it's like, hey, this person did a really amazing job. We're going to leave them $5. And it's like a thank you and they're appreciative. Whereas here it's like
you leave
you're
$5
expected
and you're
to
like,
and they're looked down on or anything like that. And we've had waitresses that go above and beyond that are like absolutely me. And it's not just waitressing, it's, you know, services, expeditions.
well, yeah, we had all the
We went diving.
deckhands on the dive trip, and they were, you know, asking us for tips at the end. And this was one of those situations where it's really funny. My brother-in-law walked up to me. He's like, "Hey, what do you normally tip on these things?" And I was like, "Well, you know, normally, you know, $20." And
No, you said like, you know, $10 per person or whatever. Like
$10 per
like
person.
20.
There's two of them.
So
it's
I
like
looked at
$20.
Chris and I said, well, so how much are you tipping? And he's like, I'm not going to
tip him.
And I was like, well, you just told your brother-in-law. And he was like, well, he asked what a typical tip was, not what I was leaving. That's like a typical Chris thing.
But that was one of those cases where, like, you know, and we do these dive boats. I have a guy trip that we do annually together, and we always tip, but we usually get really great service. And
not only that, but
time,
like they include in the price, which it's extortionate to go diving anyway, even if you have your own gear. But I mean, they'll give you fruit or drinks,
a cooler of ice,
water,
things to rinse your stuff gear. Like
it's
this
really
boat
exhausting,
had nothing.
and you need the energy to go under on 2 dives. They didn't even give us water.
Yeah, no, there was a cooler of water with those little teeny round triangle plastic paper cup things.
I totally missed it.
You get like a sip at a time.
That doesn't count.
Yeah, no, I mean,
a bottle of water.
but like typically on these dive trips, they would do fresh oranges, and I inquired about it, and the reason they gave is, well, you know, since COVID, we just haven't done that anymore. And it's like, dude, COVID's over, man.
Well,
like,
it was years ago. It's like, obviously,
years
that's
ago.
not an excuse.
That's 4
I think
years
a lot
ago.
of companies, interesting you brought that up, and I won't go down this rabbit hole, but I think a lot of companies pulled back on doing things during COVID that were going above and beyond, maybe a little bit of like extra service. And I think that during COVID, they stopped. But it didn't necessarily change their revenue dollars in what they were collecting. And
well, the
people
revenue went
continued.
down, and then they started coming back, and
Well, what I'm saying
left
is
those
it didn't
services off.
change what they were getting. Like if,
Right.
you know, you go on a dive trip, oranges or no oranges, they lost the service because of COVID, but when it came back, they still weren't giving oranges and people were still paying them the same amount of money. So that was a savings for them. You know,
Yeah, it
they
could have
became
been.
more profitable.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of companies cut corners.
yeah. Well, and again, you know, that all goes down into, you know, budgeting at the company level and figuring out what to do there. I mean, they were slam packed. I think a couple oranges. We knew that because we asked.
so concerned
and I
about
brought
the
orange
oranges.
juice. I know. Well,
But
if
anyway,
you're diving,
we
you know these things are really important.
I know.
So,
Well, we didn't
which
tip
is why I
them.
didn't tip.
Yes. And then, you know, we had a fantastic waitress one night and the other night, not so much. But I remember when I was growing up, you know, the regular tipping price was 20%. A lot of these places, it's, you know, they'll offer you 15, 18, 20, 22. You go to Miami, New York, the lowest you're seeing is 22, 25, 28. Like, it's crazy how different the
automatic
tipping
tipping
is.
buttons there.
And
Yeah.
well, the automatic tipping buttons there, even in restaurants these days where you go to a counter and you order food that you're just waiting for, they have a tip button. And it's like,
I don't ever tip on
It's like,
those.
what is going on here? Like, you're not doing anything for me aside from preparing my food, and I'm paying
for
the
prepared
You
food.
put the price on the
Yeah.
menu. So that does blow
I mean,
my mind.
you know, we could get people on both sides of the fence here that would just skewer both sides. Because if you've ever been a server, which most people
I have.
like
I have.
when you're growing up, it's almost like you have to do your time as a server or a helper of some sort in a restaurant.
And I know we both did. It's interesting too, because when I made less money and I was younger and I was going out to like local restaurants and bars, when I first was able to start legally drinking, I was excited. I was making friends with the people, you know, that were the wait staff at these places. And when I tell you, I would tip like ridiculous amounts of money because I just felt like that was so nice of you. And I have the money to spend, so I'll give it. Like I was such a giver. And they would always give back with free shots and drinks and free appetizers. You know, it's like some of these places, you treat them really well and they treat you really well. But and it's on behalf of the business, as I'm sure, you know, sometimes it's like, oh, it's not their decision or the owners wouldn't want that. But if you're a regular customer who's providing revenue, the owners absolutely would say, it's worth the $10 appetizer one day to make them feel special.
Yes,
you know?
Absolutely. I agree with that. I mean, there are the few places that we go to where I would say that we're more of a local to there, and we get, I wouldn't call them freebies, but it's like, oh, hey, we made a mistake, have this, and who knows if it was a mistake or not. Or, hey, try this. You know, our favorite place is State Street and downtown. You know, occasionally they'll be like, hey, we're trying out a new drink style. Would you guys like to try it? And they just, you know, they give them to us.
Yes.
And
If you haven't been to State Street, this is a plug. Go see them.
that's a plug.
We absolutely love them. They have great cocktails and food.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so the trip was great. And while we were on our trip, we got a crazy text in our friend group. Everyone's looking at tax season just passed, and one of our friends,
we have a summertime friends group where we just like to share like just fun stuff and things that are going. And we had some friends that were on a cruise and some other friends that were
we were all
poolside,
doing different things.
We're all doing different things, and we had one friend that came in and she was just like, yeah, you guys are all having fun.
And I'm over here hating my life because I got my property taxes billed.
Her property taxes went up 180%.
Which is insane.
It was like $500 and some odd a month extra, which is like $6,000 a year. And she's in Manatee County here, which is right next to Sarasota County. Mm-hmm. No, they're in Sarasota County.
Yep.
And she got a huge tax surprise. And she was like, oh my gosh, what do we do? What do I do? And it was one of those things where, like, we reviewed, typically you get your ad valorem, like, statement the year previous. So a lot of times, like, October, November, you're getting not only your tax bill for the next year, but also what your expected taxes are for the next year if the rates get approved or something like that.
Yeah. And not only that, I mean, most homeowners would be shocked because, I mean, if the mail comes and they don't owe something, they're not necessarily paying all that much attention. We both have worked in the real estate industry for most of our professional lives. And so we do know a little bit more about it. But what's interesting is that when your taxes come out, there is an opportunity to go and be part of the discussions of what the final tax bill will be, and to essentially make comments or concerns to try to make change prior to those finalizing. Right. You get notified of these meetings that you can attend in specific dates. And obviously, I mean,
none of us attend them.
I've never attended one in my entire life, though I know they exist. And it wouldn't be until after I experienced something like this that I would be trying to go get my foot in the door somewhere, you know.
You know, we were talking about just, what would we do? What kind of impact would we be prepared for if our taxes had increased, something like that? And, our taxes went up just a little teeny bit of money. And then what happens is we escrow our taxes in our mortgage payment. So we get a little notice that says, hey, your mortgage payment's going to go up, $12 to...
Or whatever it may be.
Whatever the amount is. For those taxes. And then, the key for us...
When you escrow it, they are looking, because that mortgage company is going to be the one responsible for paying it out of that escrow account. Correct. And so there is, regardless of how much you put down on your house, they require you to escrow taxes if you put down less than 10%. Now, even if we have more, you can choose to have your taxes escrowed in that account just so you don't have to worry about it. And that's why we do it. So it's it's nice because we do have a second set of eyes. And it's not one lump sum coming out at the end of the year. It is being escrowed on a monthly basis, just like, an FP&L bill. It's something that you're paying monthly. Yeah,
absolutely. And, the key there is updating our budget banking account so that it's reflected appropriately for us. And so we did make minor adjustments there. One of the things that I have in our house account is the buffer. So let's say that we didn't even pay attention to that. I think we put a couple $100 buffer in that account, so it builds up over time. And if something were to hit, like let's say our mortgage payment changed, and we were like, hey, our account looks a little bit lower than normal, we would actually have that buffer that was built up. That buffer, the ultimate goal for the buffer in your house account is so that if you lose your job, that you have a couple months to pay for your house account. So if you're spending, you know, let's say $4,000 a month is what your house budget is, you want to have $12,000 sitting there so that if you can no longer put money into that account, that it'll carry you for multiple months. And that includes everything from, you know, your house, if you had a car payment, your electric, your water, and so those necessities. It's definitely going to cause a lot, you know, room for a lot less stress if something catastrophic were to happen inside of your household.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's really important when you're going to purchase a home to understand all of the expenses that are associated, because oftentimes people do just look at what that monthly mortgage payment is going to be to determine whether or not they can. But understanding, like looking back at average utility bills from the past, I know Tyler was talking to you about buying a second house, actually. We're super proud of him and his accomplishments and what he's done. But it's really important to take everything into account: insurance, property taxes, understanding what's covered if you're in an HOA or not, and your quarterly or monthly bills, how much that is. Because, I mean, the mortgage is one very small portion of even other bills. It's like if you're moving from another house where you've had to pay for TV subscriptions or things like that yourself, then great. But otherwise, you know, you need to take into account that. You need on top of groceries. So it's important you live within your means and you have the capability, to your point, to not only be able to pay those bills, but maybe even make some room for a slight buffer, knowing things like property taxes and homeowners insurance can spike at any time, and it's completely outside of your control. Like homeowners insurance went up almost 40% for a lot of Americans this year.
It did for us. You know, living in Florida, our auto insurance went up quite a bit.
It was last year. It was the end of last year. It was last year.
One of the things that we're seeing just from conversations with, you know, our friend groups is everyone's expenses have gone up quite a bit, and everyone's revenue has not gone up quite a bit.
Story of everyone's lives right now, I think.
We've had probably more people lose jobs, leave jobs, make decisions. Like we're seeing a lot of incomes going down and a lot of everyone's expenses going up. And I would say, you know, what's the first line of defense against all of this? And that's one is having a budget and knowing where you sit at that point in time. And a lot of people, I think, find themselves in a budgeting crisis where all of a sudden a revenue stream in a family goes away. And then they're going, okay, well, what does that mean?
Right.
You know, does that mean like everything falls apart? We can't pay? How long can we go?
Right.
Like those. I mean,
if you're living paycheck to paycheck, you can't go long at all.
You can't go long at all.
And if you're living paycheck to paycheck, that's where you need to take a hard look at your current lifestyle and your expenses. Doesn't mean you need to move wherever you are. That's probably an extreme case, but there's ways for you to get some money in the bank and savings, because life is very unpredictable and you absolutely should have different budgets for emergency situations.
Absolutely. I wonder, you know, one of the things that when people are looking at this, I would say that's really where that buffer, when the good times are. You know, I could go and start quoting some biblical stuff. You know, when the harvest is good, you know, you're supposed to set aside money and put it away. You know, 7 years of good times, you should be putting this money away. And adding a buffer to not only your house account, but even like, a food account is a zero-sum account, so it's going to go down all the time. However, because it does go down all the time, and if you have a catastrophic income issue, then all of a sudden you have half the food amount that's coming in to feed the same family. And where are you going to get that money from? Typically, you're going to pull that from savings or emergency and start, you know, putting that money in there so that you can live or move forward. But, you know, I think we should maybe do some research and bring back to our listeners and just say, hey, you know what? If this is some things that you could do if all of a sudden you have a catastrophic income loss.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's really important to, obviously, if you're already in a home, right now interest rates are insane. Hopefully they'll go down before the end of the year. But I was just going to say, like, constantly looking at reevaluating what you can do to live a more affordable lifestyle. So it might be refinancing when the interest rates go down, or it might be initially when you find a home, if it is at a low interest rate, putting less down because it makes more sense to keep that money in your pocket to live your life. It could be the other way around, where it's like interest rates are incredibly high, so you need to look at managing your expenses even better. Right. So it's always evaluating the economic times as well.
Right. And speaking of economic times, you actually just got back from Capitol Hill.
I did.
And,
yes. I know we went diving and then I went straight to DC. So definitely some advocacy efforts in the real estate industry. And it was a lot of fun. Talked to some congressmen and women in the House of Representatives and the Senate. And I had a great time.
And what the interesting thing is, when you were up there and you were meeting our local representatives, and I think everyone has this opportunity
they do. As a constituent of a city, anybody has the ability, which I've learned so much being in the industry that I'm in, about your ability to have a voice. And one of the things that they continued to talk about was one person really can make that big of a difference, especially if your story, typically you're going with challenges or issues that you want help solving for. But if your story resonates with a challenge that they've experienced themselves or exists in their family, they might have the, emotional tie to want to do something about that issue. And it could help a lot of other people going through the same thing. But even though most of our congressmen and women do live locally in Washington, D.C. to successfully do their job, they're traveling back and forth to their districts here in Florida or any other state where they do have district offices, and you can meet with them or their staff there as well. So you have the opportunity at any time to try to schedule an appointment and have those one-on-one conversations. You don't need to know a lot about Congress or the officials. It just needs to be about you and your city and what you think could make it a better place.
And, a lot of people think, I'm one of so many people, but you'd be surprised if you write a letter and send that information in or send an email in, like you're heard, because not everyone's sending letters and emails.
They're not. And I do think that nationally there's a ton of letters and phone calls coming in, but they have to listen to every single one and have some empathy for the staff members there. A lot of these people who are answering the phones or answering the emails are the average age of about 27 years old. And death threats have increased by 1,000% over the last couple of years, which is really scary. Yeah. Challenges are, very present in the United States. People are frustrated, and these are young professionals that are fielding a lot of terrifying things. And they really are there to help.
Well, there's a big change when you go from whether it's inside of a parent's house and straight into the workforce, whether you go to college, graduate, go into the workforce. There's a very huge eye-opener into what it actually takes to run a household, the income that it takes to get the things that you need to have to live. And social media adds this huge perspective on what we should expect in life and what other people are doing. And
I feel like we all need to just get off of it. Not kidding. It has its pros and cons. It really does.
And so probably the most important thing that happened while you were away in DC is
was that Pepper got fed.
Well, Pepper did get fed, and she had plenty of water. And
so every time I come home from a vacation, her water bowl is bone dry. And he's like, I swear. He's like, Pepper's screwing me over.
She does. She goes and she laps the water up right when she gets home. And then it's like, oh, she drank all the water. I'm like, no, it's dry.
I dumped the bowl upside down last night and nothing came out. But anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
So the most important thing that happened while you were away is that I ran out of paper towels. And and so there, have you ever seen paper towel math? Like paper towel math, it's like you go in there and it's like, hey, 4 rolls equals 6 towel rolls.
Right. Paper towel math is the same as like toilet paper math, but a lot of the paper towels you can like. Usually toilet paper is the same size squares, but paper towels is like you can get one sheet but 4 pieces out of one sheet.
Right, it's like you get 4 times the uses because you can take one sheet and break it in half, and it's literally like, well, no, it's still one paper towel. And it's like $23, and I'm looking at like all the different rolls.
I'm actually just in this moment realizing that you probably used our accounts to buy paper towel because it's for the household, which means you went to Publix, which means you probably got yourself a nice dinner while I was out of town at Publix.
Most likely,
adding it to the bill. I tell you, people, he always.
But it was so crazy because while I was out of paper towels, Bree had actually texted and she was like, "Hey." I'm redoing the budget. She moved into a new apartment. She's refreshing her budgets. And she's like, where do I put paper towels? and a thing. And it's funny because paper towels are so expensive.
Yeah, they are. Paper products are really expensive. We as a family used to, go to my aunt's cottage all the time. And it was always like, obviously you're not paying for the night or anything like that. But my family on all sides would just bring paper towel and toilet paper to be like, here, we'll stock you up on paper products if you're not going to take money from us, because at least we know you'll use it and we're all using it. Yeah, exactly.
That's actually a really good idea.
It's like a good, if there's like a shared house or something that you use all the time, that's a really great thing to bring to truly be helpful.
Right. Which is basically 50% of the cost of what it would cost for the hotel.
Yeah,
so
probably
using toilet paper towel math.
Did you figure it out?
Yeah. So basically what I told
the average
Bree,
cost per square?
Well, I look at the usage, the square. What's really nice is that when you look on the little tag there, it'll tell you per whatever the increment is. And you just have to make sure that increment matches the same what the other companies doing their increment. Well, it's easy when it's like ounces, right? Or weight.
I just buy paper towel that I like. But
yeah, we have a specific paper towel. I think a lot of people have that.
I need to start. See, that's a problem of mine. I need to start paying attention to prices and budgeting, and I will.
And so typically we'll pull that out of either our food account or a miscellaneous account.
Yeah.
And I told Bree the same thing. I said, look, when you're starting out, I said, you're probably going to just put that into your... She's like, I'm going to put it in my house account. I said, no, you can't put that in your house account because it's not a fixed cost. Mm-hmm. And so that is a variable cost depending on how often you go. And so you want to put that into like a food.
And usually you're buying it at the grocery store. I think that's a really good rule of thumb, is like if it's something that you would buy at the grocery store, even though we have the ability to get things online and delivered these days, that if it's available and that's where you typically would have found it before any of this amazing technology existed, then it probably belongs.
Yeah, typically if you see an Amazon charge on our food account, it's going to be like a certain salt that we get from Amazon, a paper towel product.
We love Maldon finishing salt.
Yeah, cherries and...
cherries?
Yeah, those, the Luxardos.
Oh, yeah. For cocktails, for an old fashioned.
Yeah. I love the Luxardo cherries.
Everyone is always like, Chris always says, these are maraschino. And everyone says, no, they're not. They're the fancy ones. The maraschinos are the bright red ones. And it's like, well, actually, maraschino's the brand. Nobody knows that. Luxardo is a type of maraschino. Maraschino's the brand. And regular maraschinos are truly just original maraschinos. But it's like a Kleenex brand or Q-tip. It's like they're actually cotton swabs.
They're actually
and tissues.
They don't taste anything like cotton swabs. They're delicious.
No, I'm saying the cherries. I'm not saying they taste. Oh my gosh, was that sarcastic?
Yeah, I was being sarcastic.
Terrible joke. Anyway, I was comparing brands. I'm sure everybody else picked up on it. But with that.
Yeah, with that, go ahead and if you have some great toilet paper math and you'd like to go ahead and share it with us, feel free to reach out. Send it to just us on our website, any of our social media channels. Visit us at budgetbanking.com. Go ahead and like, subscribe, share our podcast, and get the word out. If you're looking for specific help, we're actually starting to do budgets and do people's budgets and post videos and walk them through. So feel free to send that to us as well.
Definitely. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, everyone. See you next week.